Good evening. I will call to order the June 10th, 2025 City Council meeting. We will start off this meeting with our invocation by Pastor Drew Davis of Temecula United Methodist Church, and then I will lead you all in the flag salute. So if everyone could please stand. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Thank you very much for allowing me to open you this evening. Heavenly Spirit, we gather here today in the heart of Temecula. We come before you with open hearts and minds, seeking wisdom and compassion for our city's leaders. We ask that you guide each council member in their decision-making, reminding them of the diverse needs of all who call Temecula home. May they remember the homeless, the hungry, and those who struggle to find safety and security. Let our leaders be inspired to advocate for the education and well-being of our children, ensuring a bright and hopeful future for them. We also uplift our LGBTQIA+ siblings, asking that they feel seen, valued, and supported within our community. May your Spirit empower our leaders to challenge injustice and create a city where anyone can thrive without fear of discrimination. In these challenging times, we bring before you the plight of those affected by unjust immigration attacks. Protect those who are harmed by the decisions and policies, and inspire our leaders to stand in solidarity with all who seek refuge and opportunity. May they work tirelessly to uphold the dignity and rights of every individual, regardless of their background or status. Lord, grant them the strength and the courage to care for even the most marginalized among us. Help them to recognize that true leadership is measured by how we uplift those who are often overlooked. May your love flow through their hearts, guiding them to policies that reflect love, inclusion, and equality for all. Thank you for the opportunity to serve in our community. May we all work together to create a Temecula that embodies compassion and justice for everyone. Amen.
You could all face the flag, place your right hand over your heart, and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Alexander?
Here.
Mayor Kalpis?
Here.
Councilmember Ron?
Here.
Councilmember Schwank?
Here.
Councilmember Stewart?
Here.
All right, we have no presentations tonight, and we will move on to our board and commission reports. We will start off with our Community Services Commissioner, Hawks. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Dr. Yuen Hawks. I'm honored to serve as the chairwoman of this commission. Next slide. Our commission is made of 5 dedicated commissioners: Ernie Castro, LaSalle DeGrave, myself, Jeff Kingsburg, and Cassie Sizemore. We are an advisory commission. We held our most recent meeting last night. Next, please. First, we received the reports from the Human Services Division. For inclusive services, we had 116 participants. All of these services are for special needs community except the YAC, which is Youth Advisory Council. For example, High Hopes serves adult, while SKIP is for children. Highlights include pool parties, kickball, and the visual arts showcase at the City Hall. For our senior services, we had 193 participants, which was a 53% increase from the same month last year. They celebrated birthdays and Mother's Day. At the State of the City address, you saw a clip of our seniors having fun at the senior center. I look forward to visiting them this Thursday to celebrate Father's Day. Next, please. Next, we received a report from the Workforce Development Division. We successfully held our very first Young Men's Career Conference. I want to thank Mr. Mayor, City Manager, and Director Marino for serving as mentors. I hope we can bring it back next year. Next, please. Lastly, to recap our meeting, we received 4 public comments requesting participation in the 4th of July parade. I'm happy to see residents coming to our commission to engage with us. We also discussed our commission's goal for the remainder of the year. We will continue to provide support and engage our community. We're also willing to take on any tasks the council sees fit. I want to conclude by emphasizing that we will continue to do our job and do it well. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Thank you very much. We'll move on to our public safety report with Fire Chief Crater.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, and the city of Temecula. For the month of May, your fire department ran 805 calls. 7 of those were fire, 65 were traffic collisions, and 622 were medical emergencies. I don't have another slide tonight because I was going to introduce our new battalion chief, Jessica Swindler, but she is on a fire. Multiple fires in the county today, and then other counties have an uptick in activity. So I'll get her on the next meeting. Thank you very much. That concludes my report.
So fire season has begun, huh?
It has.
Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Thank you very much, Chief Crater. All right, before we move on to public comments on non-agenda items, at the mayor's prerogative, I'm going to move up our business agenda tonight, and we will start with item number 31. Madam City Clerk, can we have a staff report, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. For item number 31, it is the creation of the Senior Services Master Plan Update and Wildfire Mitigation Ad Hoc Subcommittees. On May 22nd, at the budget workshop, the City Council provided general direction to create 2 ad hoc subcommittees. One subcommittee would address an update to the Senior Services Master Plan, and the second subcommittee would address wildfire mitigation efforts, including a community wildfire protection plan. The Senior Services Master Plan Update Ad Hoc Subcommittee, the description is that committee will work with staff to review the existing Senior Services Master Plan and identify any updates that may be needed to meet current community needs. Related recommendations will be provided to the full City Council by December 2025. And for the Wildfire Mitigation Ad Hoc Subcommittee, the subcommittee will work with staff to develop and implement a work plan related to wildfire mitigation strategies, including those related to a Community Wildfire Protection Plan, CWPP, and related recommendations will be provided to the City Council, again, by December 2025. So unless there are any questions, it is recommended that the City Council create the 2 subcommittees and appoint 2 members of the council to serve on each subcommittee. That concludes staff's report.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from my colleagues? Do we have any public comments?
On this item, no.
All right, we can start the discussion and the deliberation on who we will appoint to the subcommittee. I think we at the last public hearing, we talked about for the Senior Services Master Plan, placing Councilmember Ron and Councilmember Stu on that subcommittee. I will make that recommendation for that.
Second the motion.
Let's vote on that one first. That has been moved and seconded on the creation of the Senior Services Master Plan Update, as well as appointing Councilmember Ron and Councilmember Stewart. That motion passes unanimously, 5-0. We will move on to the Wildfire Mitigation City Council Ad Hoc Subcommittee and appoint members to that subcommittee.
If I can just jump in on this, just thinking of the importance and having knowledge, I think you two, Mr. Ron and Mayor yourself, would probably be the best 2 on that committee.
Well, thank you. I will second that motion.
All righty.
Thank you.
All right, that has been first and seconded. Let us vote. And that passes unanimously, 5-0. We'll move on to item number 32, consider appeals of administrative decisions related to the 4th of July event and reaffirm administrative policy regarding the same. Madam City Clerk, do we have a staff report?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the staff report will be provided by myself and the city attorney. Please note for the record that Councilmember Alexander will not be participating in one of these actions. We are going to go ahead and have the full staff report because it applies to both actions. And then we will ask Councilmember Alexander to go ahead and leave the room. Councilmember Alexander is not participating due to her relationship with the president of the appellant agency, MTRA. And Mr. City Attorney, would you like to add?
I would just recommend that Councilmember Alexander leave while you give the staff report on the MTRP item, and then come back for the staff report on the sons of that also appealed.
Mr. City Attorney, the staff report is general and does not reference either appellant by specific detail and applies to both.
Oh, okay.
Are you good with her remaining? And then right after I finish the staff report, we can ask her to leave?
Okay, that would work.
Okay.
City Clerk, if I can just add also in there that also I have, I'm part of the MTRA, not just connections with the president, but also part of the MTRA in that, within that club in itself.
Understood, yes. While there is not a legal conflict with you being a general member of that particular organization, for perception purposes, we understand that you're going to go ahead and abstain from the first appeal. That being said, the city of Temecula will be holding its annual 4th of July parade on Friday, July 4, 2025. The parade is traditionally not intended to serve as a public forum for free expression of ideas and comments by the public, but rather as an expression of the city's official sentiments and promotion of the holiday season for the city by way of government speech. The deadline to submit applications to participate as a parade entry was June 8, 2025. All applications are reviewed to ensure consistency with the city's administrative guidelines for the event. A copy of the relevant administrative guidelines was attached in the agenda packet. Administrative and/or operational guidelines, of which there are several in various departments, are established and implemented at the department level with the advice and concurrence of the city attorney's office. In creating these guidelines, the departments and the city attorney consider the law, best practices, public health and safety, and past experience. Should an individual wish to appeal an administrative decision of a department head and the city manager, they may do so pursuant to Temecula Municipal Code Section 2.36. A copy of the relevant code section was attached in the agenda packet. Here, appellants have met with the department head and the city manager. In both cases, the department head and city manager have upheld the denial to participate in the parade based upon existing written guidelines. The matter is now before the City Council for consideration on appeal. It is going to be recommended, again, that we consider the appeals separately. First, we will consider the appeal of the Murrieta Temecula Republican Assembly and ask to reaffirm the policy and the relevant sections. Then we will consider the appeal of the Sons of the American Revolution and ask to reaffirm the related administrative policy sections. Mr. City Attorney, I will now go ahead and turn it over to you for additional comments.
And then Councilmember Alexander will leave the dais, and we'll invite you back when this portion is over. Mr. Mayor and the members of the City Council, the remaining members of the City Council, the city policy regarding the parade guidelines, which are mandatory regulations, prohibit an entry whose purpose is to campaign for any office, promote any partisan political position or ballot proposal. In my opinion, this provision is legal and does not violate the free speech clause of the U.S. Constitution or the California Constitution. The 4th of July parade is a city-initiated, sponsored, and staged parade. It is not an application by a group requesting permission to hold a parade and make a statement as to their values or their political beliefs. The 4th of July parade is not a public forum where people can say whatever they want to or hold signs while on public property. The sidewalk near the duck pond is a classic example of a public forum. People can go there, they can speak their mind, they can hold signs, and the city has no right to regulate what they say or what they don't say. The 4th of July parade is not a limited public forum. which is where the government only puts some restrictions on what can be said. The public comment at a city council meeting is a limited public forum. People can say what they want to say as long as it's related to city business. They can criticize the staff, they can criticize the council, they can propose things, they can request that things be eliminated, but you can't regulate what they say as long as it's related to city business. The 4th of July parade fits into the third category that the cases have dealt with, and that's called government speech. It is the city's effort to promote itself, to celebrate the positive factors that make the city great, to express the values of the city. And the courts have said cities are entitled to do that. And I will repeat the first paragraphs of the parade guidelines that very explicitly say that. It is, this, quote, "It is the city's intent that the 4th of July parade be a fun-filled, family-friendly, pleasant experience for all people in the community, reflecting the goodwill, spirit, and excitement of the patriotic holiday." And then the second paragraph provides, "In adopting these parade guidelines, the city declares that the parade is not intended to serve as a public forum for free expression of ideas and comments by the public, but rather as an expression of the city's official sentiments and promotion of the holiday season for the city government." So therefore, based on those concepts that have been developed by the courts, the city is not required to allow every group to come in and use the parade. You can impose these guidelines and restrict those who may wish to participate. It is similar to the city newsletter. The city publishes a newsletter expressing all of the great things that the city has done, all of the new public works projects, all of the community events that go on, and it is not a forum where other people can come in and say, well, you know, if I had been there, I would have opposed this city project, or I think this city project should not go forward. Also, too, it is similar to the mayor's State of the City address that we recently had. That is another expression of what the city has done, the city's values, the projects, the accomplishments of the city during the previous year. And again, that is not a forum for the expression of people's views that may not agree with the city. So in light of that, there is no legal reason why you need to uphold these appeals. As I said, I believe they fall within the court guidelines with respect to the First Amendment. But I will also tell you that if you decide for policy reasons to grant the appeal, you would need to open the parade applications again to allow people who did not apply based on that provision an opportunity to apply. Again, in these regulations, everybody has to be treated equally. You can't have a resolution that allows one group to speak but not another group. So if you do allow the appeal, you would have to open up the parade applications again to allow other groups to participate. And with that, if you have any questions, I'll be pleased to respond.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Attorney. Let me turn off Mayor Pro Tem's iPad here.
Mr. Mayor, while you're doing that, I will note for the record that we have 4 public comments, unless the council has questions for the city attorney or I. We have these 4 speakers, and the first one would actually be the appellant on behalf of the organization.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Do any questions from my colleagues prior to the public comments? All right, we will have the first speaker come up.
Okay, the first speaker on this item is Jeanette Chun, who is also representing the appellant agency.
Good afternoon. Oh, it's actually good evening. Sorry, good evening. I'm really grateful to be here today and talking on this subject. I actually don't have much of a disagreement with the lawyer in regards to coming to a parade that's promoted by a city and upholding the traditions of being a part of a community and celebrating what the 4th of July stands for. MTRA as a group is not here to propose its own speech on the city. All we want to do is be a part of this incredible celebration, celebrating our independence. We happen to be a partisan group, but we're not here to advertise partisan ideas, nor are we here to hand out leaflets or bring any type of speech to this event that is going to promote our ideologies or ideas. The only idea we want to do is celebrate what the city of Temecula, that we hold very dear, we support, and we care about, the idea of independence and what it is that this celebration stands for. Our organization is a Republican organization. It is partisan. We have been in this parade for many, many years, close to 20 years. If in the past there were things that were bothersome to somebody on how excited things got, or I had heard from somebody that there might have been a little bit too much exuberance and somebody had too much excitement one year, last year when we're looking at the video, there was perfect harmony in what we were doing. There was nobody that was outrageous. We had very clear indication of what we were there for. We held up our sign. We had people driving behind us, and our hope was just to celebrate with the city of Temecula, something that's an incredible celebration that we hold dear and we want to be a part of. And at no time do we disagree at all with guidelines. We think there should be guidelines. And if we ever were to come and have a disagreement with those guidelines, we would come and speak to you guys about it. We would never behave in a reprehensible manner or be disrespectful to this incredible journey that we've been on with Temecula ever. We love this city. We do things to promote this city, and we help people get in office so that this city becomes great and has something that it can stand for. At no point in this journey, I mean, I've had the most wonderful experience actually going through this appeal process. It's enlightened me on how the process of the city works. I got to meet with the city manager. I got to meet with the director of community services. They were very wonderful to speak with, and they heard me out. I think that that's what this public discourse is also supposed to be about. When we have disagreement with something that's going on, we're able to voice our concerns. And that's the forum in which to voice concerns or have disagreement, not in a parade. And we would never disrespect anything that we were allowed to be in such a way that we would cause harm or cause mayhem or whatever disruption it was that caused somebody concern that ended up coming back to me that there was a concern. I would like to ask that you guys consider the fact that just because somebody's a partisan group doesn't mean they should be excluded from something if they're willing to follow the guidelines that you guys have set forth and show respect and honor to the traditions that Temecula has held dear. This is something that has, I mean, yesterday we were talking at the community services event, and one of our members pointed out old traditions and new opportunities. It's a 4th of July parade, but it is meaningful to those of us who really take stock in what our independence stands for. It's an old tradition of Temecula. It's something that everybody seems to love. I would like to ask respectfully, we not be excluded just because we're partisan. I think even Democrats, independents, anybody who wants to voice their ideology of independence, what this stands for, gets to be involved and included. It's a state-sponsored speech. Fine, we're not speaking. We're really not saying anything other than MTRA wants to hold up our sign, walk with our community members that we hold so dear, walk in this parade for this great city that we love, and that's all we want to do is celebrate with you. So that's really our concern, is being excluded when we've never even been told we have done something incorrect to be excluded, never given an opportunity for any type of remedy, and moving forward, I just think that it sets a precedent that's dangerous to exclude people without having any reason why we should be excluded other than we're partisan and that concerns people. Other things can be added on to this later on. What if somebody doesn't like it because a Christian organization holds a cross or somebody else holds a Buddha? Those are things that concern me too if we continue on with this. My time has ended, but I thank you very, very much for your consideration, and I really do hope that you guys look at us and give us consideration again. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chun. The next speaker is Brandy Meeker, to be followed by Bob Kell. Brandy Meeker.
Welcome.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about this subject tonight. First, I want to say that the 4th of July is a date on the calendar, and the holiday that is celebrated on the 4th of July is Independence Day. So it's an Independence Day parade on the 4th of July. When I first found out about the denials of certain groups participating in the parade, I immediately thought, they've lost their minds. Surely they wouldn't deny the sons of the American Revolution the opportunity to participate in the Independence Day parade, but that seems to be exactly what has happened, along with at least one other group. It is my understanding that there have been concerns with parade entries in prior years. One of the concerns was the presence of guns. There are common sense steps that can be applied to make sure any weapons are not loaded and are properly secured. As mentioned, another concern is campaigning. This again can be solved with common sense rules and not blanket bans. Is the next step in banning campaigns to determine that Kate Sanchez or Chuck Washington, both duly elected officials, are using their appearance in the parade as campaign tools? The same could be said for yourselves, which I assume will be in the parade. Are you going to ban all elected officials from participating in the parade next? Temecula created quite a stir when it enacted the Ready Commission several years ago. By going through with the denial of these parade applications, you are not living up to the purpose of the Ready Commission. There is no equity in this decision. If you do not see the irony of banning political parties and legacy groups that represent the founding of this country from the Independence Day parade, then I cannot help you. I can only tell you that more government has never, ever been the solution to anything. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. The next speaker is Bob Cowell, to be followed by our last speaker, E. Bodme.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome, counsel and Attorney Thorson. Attorney Thorson, I'd like to express my difference of opinion of what you think the 4th of July is. It's not about how great Temecula is or how wonderful people celebrate something. It's about the 4th of July is about the Declaration of Independence. And I think any lawyer in the land will find, in the Supreme Court, if we have to go there, that this will be found to be legal. And I just want to let you know first that I totally disagree with your thinking on this, totally. And I think I have the legal background to know that, not myself, but others around me. After 25 years, we should be grandfathered in, by the way. After 25 years of sending in the request and being allowed to be in the parade, approximately 25 years, most of those years we were in the parade, and we have at times been out of, had signs and things like that. We were told not to. So if you look at the video of the last parade, it shows no bullhorn. It shows no other signs as far as I can see. In our parade of only a few cars and our banner that we held. So I don't see why last year there was no bullhorn. If somebody said about a bullhorn, we had none. And you can look at the video from the city itself to find that is true. I heard that the staff had disallowed this, that the city council had not voted on this before. Tonight we have one less person who actually is Jessica Alexander, who is in our club, so she can't vote on this particular item, but I'm sure she would vote with us. But now, with less people voting, I do hope that you vote the right way and vote for us to be in the parade. And who cares if you have the Democrats in the parade? We've had the Democrats in the parade before. Have them in the parade this time. I think it's the right thing to do. Have any party in there. Libertarians, Sons of the American Revolution. I mean, that's obviously something totally obscene that you would not allow that to be them in the parade. Us, I can see maybe we're too partisan, but the Sons of the American Revolution, that sounds almost hypocritical that you wouldn't allow them in the parade. That's nonsense. The staff made the decision. That sounds like you. Not the city council. I hope you, the city council, decide on the right thing and make us be allowed in the parade. Let old traditions not die, but go on. A few years ago, the Old Town Temecula gunfighters were disallowed to be in the parade because they had guns. Okay, that's old traditions. You got rid of old traditions. They should not die. Now it's the MTRA and the Sons of the American Revolution, who in the future will you disallow because of your inability to see objectively. Who else will you deny? A church that you don't like, a set of churches, or a set of groups that you disallow because you don't like their opinions. This is all about opinions. The Declaration of Independence is about American opinion. We made our opinion to the crown, and we won the war of the American Revolution, and this is about that war of American Revolution, not about the city of Temecula. If we made a mistake in the past, we can always correct it in the future. I ask you to reverse the decision to exclude MTRA and the Sons of the American Revolution from the 2025 4th of July parade. Amend the guidelines to remove the blanket exclusion of partisan political groups, focusing instead on regulating specific behavior or signage. We can get rid of the signs. We'll make sure we don't have a sign in there. Provide groups with opportunities to demonstrate compliance before being deemed unfit to participate. I really thank you for your time. I hope you do the right decision. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Cowell. And the last speaker is E. Bodmer.
Yes, it's Erlene. I've been here, living in Temecula for over 30 years. I've attended buku parades. My son has marched in the parades. I've watched them on video once I became unable to attend. And I just wanted to let you know, tonight I was almost late because you've taped off the handicap ramp coming up to the building, and I have difficulty climbing the stairs. So I had to turn around and go back and take it one stair at a time, to where I just got my pink slip in to speak tonight. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I don't represent either group. I'm just a citizen who loves the parade. And I would hate to see the flag that we just all pledged allegiance to be whitewashed out of it just because a group who happens to have a party affiliate in their name but doesn't campaign for anyone during the parade. They do that outside of the parade. I looked back at some videos last night. The Republican Party had a really nice float one year with lots of stars and stripes and people waving flags. No campaign literature handed out, no campaign signs. I too wonder sometimes when I see Chuck Washington or even some of you in the parade, if you're campaigning. And I see a lot of advertising, which is not necessarily what an Independence Day parade is about, promoting someone's business during a parade. You know, like maybe they should have to cover their signs up and just wave their flags. So, and as far as the Sons of the American Revolution, SAR, I mean, if you whitewash them out of the parade, they're why we're here. They're why we can pledge allegiance to that flag and not kneel to a crown. And they don't carry campaign signs. They march. I even saw a man on stilts representing Uncle Sam. Is he allowed to be in the parade anymore? Can George Washington, somebody dressed in costume, I mean, they represented their party, or can you have a float with Mount Rushmore on it? It just doesn't sit right with me. And I'd like you to reconsider allowing them to be in the parade and the Sons of the Revolution in the parade and any other group as long as they're not outright campaigning. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, those were the public comments that I had for the first appeal, or there were a couple of speakers that spoke to...
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, point of order. I submitted a speaking request at 5:01 this evening.
Sir, so we're only hearing the first appeal right now, and for
Yeah,
yours,
but the appeal for the Sons of the American Revolution and MTRA, I submitted the speaking request at just after 5 o'clock
sir,
when the
sir,
council chamber.
I have your slip. We are
Okay.
considering the first appeal only, and on yours, you put Sons of the American Revolution.
And MTRA.
Yes, you put MRR4 afterwards.
And MTRA afterwards,
Okay,
yes.
okay. So if you would like to speak to both, you are
Yes.
more than welcome to speak to both right now. And then the last speaker, Mr. Mayor, I have is for the Sons of the American Revolution alone.
Okay, we'll just take the final two speakers on both, and then we'll have discussion on both, if you're okay with that, Madam City Clerk.
Yes, Mr. City Attorney, I know the council member is out of the room, but can we go ahead and just hear all of them at this time?
Yes, you could. You
Okay.
could fill her in on what was said.
Well, she's able to hear in the other room over there as well,
Oh,
so.
she can also hear?
Yes.
That's even
Okay,
better.
okay, perfect.
May I speak?
So, Mr. George, go ahead and speak, and then we'll also hear from Mark Letourneau, the appellant on the other side.
We will go ahead and restart the timer, that way you get your full allotted time.
We
so.
will. And Mr. Mayor, I will note for the record, these are two separate appeals. The first appeal is appealing the denial of participation in the 4th of July parade as an entry. The second one is requesting a waiver only on the use of firearms. That organization is not denied from entry.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Romback, go for it.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, council, I'm appearing for both, as you understand. I'll start with the Sons of the American Revolution. I'm not a member of the applicant per se, but I am a past commander of the camp at Prescott, Arizona. And I formed the color guard for Prescott, Arizona, formed around the Continental Navy, and paid for uniforming that color guard. That organization meets full bore old traditions as in our motto. Today, which was the start of the celebration of the founding of the Continental Army, 250 years ago, our president spoke. He cited a large number of members of the service that trace their ancestry to the original members of the Continental Army, and to William Scott Key, who drafted the poem that forms our national anthem. I thought it was a great honor. I feel the city of Temecula is not honoring our founding fathers. Most people don't realize that belonging to Sons of Confederate Veterans is not writing a check and saying, put me on your rolls. You have to prove with records that would satisfy a genealogist that you are descended from a member that fought and maybe died for the independence of our nation. The men who brought us into being under the motto of give me life, independence, or give me death. We're here. We have a nation, including Temecula, because of what they did. Most people don't realize you have to actually trace back your ancestry to even belong to the organization. They're not geared to set forth any political view. They're here to celebrate our founding fathers, our forefathers. And I rather think that for the city of Temecula to reject them is nothing but a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. Talk about weapons. Now, my uniform is for the Sons is Continental Navy. And I carry with it a sword that traces back to the American Revolution. When will we take that out of the parade too? We can't reject from a parade that celebrates the formation of our country from it being represented by the Sons of the American Revolution. They're here for the very core of the purpose of that parade, and there is nothing political about that. It's devotion, patriotism to the formation of our country. Now from there, we went to the Constitution. The Constitution was formed, established the means by which our country exists. It's a partisan group, yes. The partisan group is we, the people. This organization is open to anyone. Yes, we are dedicated mostly to the conservative principles on which the country was founded. And if you don't agree with that, you may not want to join our organization, but we're open to them. We're not holding for any one political group per se. I would implore that you would reconsider the rejection of the applications of both organizations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And the last speaker, who actually happens to be the appellant on the second appeal, Mr. Letourneau, I apologize. Had we separated it out, we would have heard from you first.
Welcome.
And we understand you are here for a waiver. We are calling it an appeal.
We're calling it appeal. We're actually asking for a waiver. First, I want to thank city staff. I've had contact with a couple of members of city staff. They're pretty awesome staff. I dealt with city councils through my whole career, and I can get into that a little bit later. But your city staff was excellent. They didn't give any indication of which way they were going to go, but they at least listened to what I had to say. For those that are in the audience, we haven't been denied marching in the parade. What we have been denied is being able to carry our brown bess muskets in the parade. And that's what the waiver we're asking for. You think about the 4th of July and the symbolism of the 4th of July. What is that main piece that is a symbolism? It's the American flag. And why we protect the American flag and why it's so important to us is because our ancestors fought for this nation and were those that actually created the nation, if you will. The symbols for us is just that, if you will. It's what we really, in patriotic terms, we protect. You may not understand the reason they call it a color guard is because of those individuals that are guarding the flag. It's not the flag, it's the guarding of the flag. And color guards started back in the American Revolution here in what we would consider the United States today, but they were very important also in the Civil War. During the Civil War, when the Medal of Valor, the Medal of Honor, was given out for valor, there were 71 recipients of the Medal of Valor during the American Civil War. 31 of those had to do with the flag, absolutely had to do with protecting the flag. It's the reason that we carry our firearms, if you will, alongside the American flag. Do we tend to use them to defend the flag? It's symbolism. The muskets that we use are flintlocks. For the parade, we can remove the flint. They cannot fire. There's no way they can fire. So dealing with this, it seems like the elimination of one of the most important symbols of our nation seems a little, I won't say ridiculous, but seems a little contrary to why we're out there. Next week, or this Saturday, is Flag Day. It's also the 200th anniversary. It's kind of ironic that we're here tonight talking about the flag. In May, you may decide against allowing us the waiver. I know I've sat as the fire chief for 5 cities in Orange County, so I have an idea of public safety. When I look at public safety, I look at public safety as what is the risk? What is the risk that can be managed, and how it can be managed? I believe by removing our flints and making these firearms unfireable, we've managed that risk for you. When talking to the city manager and Erica, both of them brought up an incident that caused pause for the city, an incident that occurred in 2022, where during the 4th of July parade, there were several people injured by a firearm. That firearm was brought by someone not marching in the parade, but someone who used a gathering of people, got on an elevated platform, and caused mass shooting. Going through the internet and researching, trying to find another 4th of July incident where a firearm caused an issue, back in 2002, I believe, somewhere in a parade they were firing a cannon, and a piece of the cannon blew off. Both of those incidents dealt with firing a weapon. We are not going to fire a weapon. We will have our weapon shoulder or at carry, and we'll be marching alongside the flag. You know, I don't know why you eliminated swords or any type of weapon or any facsimile of weapon from the parade, especially the 4th of July parade. Getting back to, my experience, I've dealt with public safety for 32 plus years. I handled a lot of contracts for the cities. I negotiated 5 contracts for partner cities where I had to go in and evaluate the cities for.
Mr. Letourneau, I'm so sorry, but your time is up.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, that concludes public comments on all items, including hearing from the appellants themselves. At this point, we would ask you to go ahead and consider the appeal of the Murrieta Temecula Republican Assembly only, and go ahead and reaffirm, if you so desire, or give any other general direction regarding that particular appeal only.
So who spoke?
Do we have one more speaker slip, Madam City Clerk?
We do not, so. Sir, the individual that just spoke, what was your name?
Mark Kramer? I was the one who put in.
Who's the appellate? He's the appellate. It's a different.
Yeah.
It's Sir, you didn't put in a card, though, no?
No, but I was asked by the city manager to come here and
Understood, no problem, no problem. Mr. Letourneau, why don't you come on up and we'll hear from you as well.
If there's anyone else that would like to speak on behalf of these matters, please bring your speaker card forward prior to the end of this gentleman's 5 minutes. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, council members, city staff, thank you very much for the opportunity to address you this evening regarding the Sons of the American Revolution Color Guard. A previous request had been denied, and we're grateful for the opportunity to request a variance or for the appeal. My name is Mark Letourneau, and my family and I have lived in Temecula for 25 years, and I want to continue to be a proud resident of Temecula. There's not much I can tell you about the nation that you don't already know, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the flag. The United States flag is a powerful symbol of the American identity, embodying freedom, unity, and national pride. The colors and design elements carry specific meanings. The red represents hardiness and valor. The white symbolizes purity and innocence. And blue stands for vigilance, perseverance, and justice. The 13 stripes represent the original 13 colonies, while the 50 stars represent the 50 states of the Union. It's the most widely recognized symbol of our nation, It flies over public buildings, over our residences and businesses, and it's one of the most widely recognized symbols in the world. The Sons of the American Revolution, a color guard, can and should be the personification of our patriots and the ideals embraced by the Sons of the American Revolution. The color guard is the most visible outreach at public patriotic events, like parades. The mission of the Sons of the American Revolution, founded in 1889, it honors our Revolutionary War patriot ancestors by promoting patriotism, serving our communities, and educating and inspiring future generations about the founding principles of our country. Our ancestors, Mark and Benny and myself, our ancestors fought in the American Revolutionary War. So we're not only as a community, but also specifically, it's very near and dear to us. I'll finish with a quote. "Freedom is a fragile thing, and it's never more than one generation away from extinction. It's not ours by way of inheritance. It must be fought for and defended constantly by each generation, for it comes only once to a people. And those in world history who have known freedom and then lost it never know it again." That was then Governor Ronald Reagan at his inaugural speech in January 1967. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address you this evening, and thank you for considering our request to carry period-style long arms, non-firing, in the Sons of the American Revolutionary Color Guard in the Temecula July 4 Parade. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we've had one more submittal, and this is the last speaker, Robin Nielsen. Robin?
Welcome, Robin.
Thank you. I want to really thank Dawn. Wait, no. Oh, darn. Erica? No, I don't know. Somebody called me back and gave me the guidelines, and I really appreciate it. Here we go. No entry will be entered into the parade whose purpose is to campaign for any office. We're not doing that. Promote any partisan political position, no. Or ballot proposal, no. I really want to, I'm not really prepared because I didn't think I was going to get to talk. Usually I do my talks while everyone else is talking. I didn't think I was going to get to talk, so I don't have much. But I want to reiterate a couple of things that speakers said that I thought were really, really good points. What about elected officials in parades? Unless they have no political affiliation, then no elected official should ever be allowed in a parade, in the Temecula parade, I should say. And then also, like I said, we're not campaigning. We are celebrating our wonderful country. I love America, obvious, pretty obvious. So, you know, please think about what you're doing. It really is a big deal.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, that concludes all public comments on both appeals. Again, right now, please consider the first appeal only, after which we will go ahead and call Councilmember Alexander back into the room.
Thank you very much. So I will entertain discussions regarding the Murrieta Temecula Republican Assembly and their involvement in the 4th of July event. I just have one question, Madam City Clerk, that I should have asked at the question time. But on our general guidelines, do we have anything where it says if someone is in the parade in previous years and goes against the guideline, what the reprimand would be? Is there anything like that in this policy? That I couldn't find one.
Mr. Mayor, and I'll confirm with the city attorney, there is nothing in the guidelines that has some sort of a enforcement mechanism per se. These are administrative and operational guidelines.
That's correct.
Thank you. That was my question. All right, who wants to kick off the discussion on the MTRA?
All right, I'll do it. You know, I think what had happened with the MTRA is when they did enter the 4th of July parade and had signage promoting candidates. And so that's kind of the rub that we and staff had to deal with. But I believe last year you guys did enter and you played nice and did not, you know, go that extreme route. So I personally don't have a problem with a partisan per se, as long as they're there to only celebrate the event itself, and with the caveat that they know if they, you know, and we could even put it into our policy, if you go off of that and put your partisan politics into the parade, you will be excluded or banned forever, or, you know, whatever. Because I don't want to see that either. I'm here to celebrate the United States of America. You know, I'm not here to listen to the left or listen to the right. So I personally don't have a problem as long as every entry knows that that is the consequence of violating that policy. You're done. And so, I mean, if we could put that policy in play, I wouldn't have a problem with that. So that's my opinion.
Thank you, Councilmember Stu. Councilmember Ron?
Yeah, so I'd like to ask again if the representative from the MTRA would just indulge me for a second, because our language here, it says no entry will be entered in a parade whose purpose is to campaign for any office, promote any partisan position or ballot proposal. So can you just clarify what's the purpose of joining us on the parade? To celebrate. Yeah, please.
The purpose of us joining the parade is just to join the city in celebrating the 4th of July, the independence that our nation has been able to occur from the crown. That's the entire purpose of us being able to come and do with you guys with the parade, just to celebrate with you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess, thank you for the answer, I appreciate it. I guess, you know, my thinking is very similar to Mr. Stewart's, because in the past, I mean, let's be candid about this, it wasn't always the case, right? And when we speak about the Sons and the appeal there as well, I'll correct the one speaker and say this isn't because of a shooting that somebody did at another event. There was another thing that led up to our taking this a lot more seriously. And I'll explain that in a moment as well. But again, it was folks who we brought forward a series of things that we said, this is how we want to conduct ourselves, this is the kind of parade we're looking for, and those rules were ignored, you know, and I appreciate that last year, I'm assuming the video you sent was from last year's, I didn't see the parade, I was out of town, but if that's the case, then it was very different than what had happened in prior years, for sure. And so I appreciate that. You know, and the language here, it says any purpose to campaign for any office. If you're bringing political signs, then you're campaigning for political office, right? If you don't have those, and you don't have T-shirts and all the other accoutrement that go along with that, then you're not campaigning for political office. If you're not bringing forward a ballot proposition or proposal or anything else along those lines, same issue. But the language here is kind of interesting because it says promote any partisan political position, right? Not party. It specifically says position. So if you came forward and said we're going to promote a particular ideology of the Republican Party, that's fully not allowed. But it doesn't say you can't promote a party in particular. And that's part of what you're doing, is you're acknowledging the existence of one of our two we're bipartisan, let's just be honest, yeah, maybe independents and so forth, and the Green Party or whatever, libertarians, but let's be honest, it's Democrats and Republicans. And so, if the Democrats want to do a thing and have their, as long as they're following the same rules, that I candidly, I don't really have too much of an issue. But we're going to hold you to that, and I think there needs to be the council sort of discretion that says if there is a violation of the policy, then, hey, look, we're just done. And that includes, I don't want to see Bob Cowell in a midriff or, bikini top either, right? That's in the rules, Bob. So there's all sorts of things that are here that you have to abide by when you do this, and that's one of those. And I feel like if we're going to move down this pathway, I frankly don't have too much of an issue, as long as you promise to conduct yourselves the way you did apparently last year.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Schwenk?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I do have one question for the city attorney with respect to campaigning. Does clothing, is that considered campaigning if you're wearing a shirt that says, re-elect or elect someone on the shirt?
Yes, clothing that has a message on it is campaigning.
Okay. So that's important, right? Because while I will say MTRA did a pretty decent job last year, there were a lot of shirts for school board members in Murrieta. Specifically, re-elect Vandergrift was quite a few of the shirts. And I think we didn't sort of get to that point just willy-nilly. Like, it was a process, right? And, I didn't necessarily see it firsthand, but I hear, staff wasn't treated nicely. When staff comes and says, hey, these are the rules, oftentimes they're met with resistance. Well, don't tell me what to do, or, I know so-and-so, or that kind of thing. And it puts staff in a really difficult position to enforce the guidelines. And that's hard. And I think, so if there's not a mechanism for us to enforce that, which we had one, right? We've had, this was last year, we had that. And they were asked to conform, and we're told no. So I have concerns with that. Now, I really want to see everyone participate in the parade. I really do. I mean, I think it's important. I think if we're coming together as a community, if there's one day that we can just come together and leave all the BS somewhere else, and we can march and stand side by side and really reflect on what it means to be an American, that's the day, right? And so if we're not doing that, then I'm going to have a problem with it. And that's sort of where we are with this. So if we can't come up with some harsher mechanism, which I don't know what that is because we had guidelines and they were just sort of, well, don't tell me what to do, what are we going to do this next parade when the same thing happens? That's my concern, is what do we do when this happens again? Because it isn't the first time. This is the second, third, fourth time where these things have happened. And again, it puts staff in a really tough position to enforce these things. And a lot of this, the folks that are coming out, like the staff that's on site, it isn't always our director of community services. It isn't always our city manager that are handling these things. These are supervisors and managers and folks that are trying to get the parade, which is the important part of this, to actually pull off a parade, which they start planning 6 months ago for this parade. So this is a heavy lift for this team to do. And then day of, they're sort of managing, campaigning and, all of the things that go into this, because it's not just this. There's all sorts of other issues that we have to deal with. Although I don't know that I've seen many bikinis and midriffs, so we got that on lockdown. But look, at the end of the day, if we don't have a mechanism to hold entries to this, then this is the means by which we hold you to it. We say, well, you didn't follow the rules, and so you don't get to participate. I'm always, like a little forgiving and can say everyone should get another chance. I don't know if we get 3 or 4 chances, but everyone should get a second chance. So again, if we can come up with some sort of way to say, you're one and done. If it happens again, campaigning from anyone. I don't want to see a campaign sign. You're not seeing campaign signs from an elected official. You're seeing Assembly member Kate Sanchez. Like, you're seeing her sign. She's an elected member of the Assembly. You're seeing Supervisor Washington, and you're seeing some of the members here that participate in that. We're not campaigning in that sense of reelect me. We are participating in it. I bring my family. We wear American flag shirts and hats, and we're here waving flags and proud to be Americans. And that's what I think this day should be.
Thank you, Councilmember Schwenk. Councilmember Stewart?
Yeah, so, and I think that's why it's super important for if in fact we do allow again, that we have a policy in place that we put the onus of responsibility on the participant organization. So if anybody in the organization goes awry, then it's up to them to reel them in, not our city staff. It should be the leadership of that organization to say, no, we want to continue to do this, and you're going to make it impossible for us to do that. So that's where I think if we can put a policy in place, is that something, City Manager, that we can actually put in place?
Thank you for inviting me to the conversation. A couple things I do want to mention before I answer your question. I've heard a lot of things here. I was part of the appeal hearing, and frankly, I heard a lot of things today that just frankly aren't true. And I think I need to clear the record. It was said that I think we need to start with why we're even here. A few years ago, there was a 4th of July parade that had an overabundance of political campaigning going on, okay? And the sentiment in this chambers by City Council was that we've allowed this to go too far. This is now a political parade, not an Independence Day parade. And that was the conversation we had right here. And so what we did was we heard that. And so we went back, we worked with the city attorney, we worked with the staff, and we created the guideline that's in front of you today, okay? And we legally and lawfully drafted that. Now, over the last 2 years, I heard there's been no violations. It's just not true. I have photos, 23, 24. These are this is a political campaign from state assembly to school board to judges to folks out of the area. I mean, that happened. And so as staff, we attempted to right a wrong. And that, as was mentioned, was not received well. So we're here tonight. We've done our part. We've upheld the guideline. And if the city council wants to change the guideline, let's change the guideline. Yes, it can be done. But there's a history, and I think it was important to correct the record. Folks have been in this parade. We love the parade. This is not anti-American. There's reasons behind the guideline. I'm not going to get to the weapons thing. I'll save that for the second half. But as far as the partisan politics, that's why the guideline language is in there, because we discussed it here, and it was a concern to the city council that we went too far, and it was adjusted. Now here we are talking about going too far. So we're open. If the majority of the council wants to change it, we're good with that. We will follow that direction, Councilman Stewart, and that's why we're here.
Well, that's exactly what I was hoping to hear, and I'm glad you cleared the record as far as what had taken place in the past, because I think that's super important, because that's the impetus of this whole discussion. So I would like to still, again, I'm a very second, third, fourth chance kind of guy, and I think we're there. We're at the last chance, and I would like to make that recommendation, that we go ahead and allow them with the caveat of expulsion if there's any campaigning at all. This is about the United States of America. It's not about a political party. And so that's what I would like to see, just because, you know, as much as political parties can be partisan and a pain in the butt, they are part of the process, and they're a part of our nation. So I would still like to see them participate if they can play right. And if they can't, it's on you at this point. It's not on us. You kicked yourself out at that point. So I think to be able to draw that hard line in the sand, because even though we had a policy in place, we really didn't have any consequences in place. And quite often, just like anything, you have a tendency to push the policy, and if there's no ramifications, or so I'd like to put a ramification in play that puts it all back on you guys. So that's what I'd like to recommend.
Thank you very much, Councilman Stewart. And I just want to say that I agree with my colleagues here. And I think going back to what the city manager said is, why are policy and why are guidelines implemented? Usually because something goes so wrong where we need to implement policy and guidelines to make sure it doesn't happen again. And like he said, I don't think we can turn a blind eye and say, hey, the MTRA group has done everything as the guidelines stated before, because that's just not true, right? We have pictures, we've seen you guys go against the policy, but like my colleagues have said, is there's nothing been in place where there was a line in the sand where it says, hey, if you go against this policy, which you did very knowingly by campaigning, that this is the consequence. And I don't think, from my position, that I could sit up here and say, hey, if we didn't have a consequence in place prior to implementing the guideline, how do we hold you accountable, right? And I think, like Councilmember Stewart said, is I agree that tonight, if we do allow any group back into the parade or into the parade, there has to be something in place where if a future mistake, not even a mistake, but a future knowingly going against the guideline or policy happens, then you're expelled or you get a 5-year suspension, whatever it is that we agree with and come to a conclusion on. But at the face value, I'm not opposed to having partisan groups in the parade, right? Just because you have Republican or Democrat or Green Party or Libertarian Party in your name of the group, I don't think you should necessarily not be allowed in the parade. And that's not, the way I interpret the guideline, that's not what it says. But I also think that no matter what party you are, I don't want to know it on that day, right? In 1776, the Declaration of Independence was where we all united against tyranny, right? We were united against the crown, against Great Britain. It wasn't Republican or Democrat or Confederate or Union at the time, right? It was American versus them. It was the flag. And we'll get to the guns as well at the next thing. But that's where I stand. I'm not opposed to having the MTRA in it whatsoever. And it sounds like my colleagues aren't either. We are just asking you to not allow us to know who you are, what party you're affiliated with, because that's not what it's about. It's not a partisan parade. It is a parade to celebrate our Declaration of Independence. American, right? The flag, the American flag. That's what it is. That's what we want to see. And the truth is that I feel like we're going to go forward with allowing the MTRA back in, which I'm totally on board with. I'm totally on board with allowing partisan groups in. But on that day, I do not want to know what your party is. That is just the truth. I don't want to see it, and I think now, after seeing this and having it in the guideline that, hey, you go against this, you're expelled or you're suspended for 5 years, whatever we come to, I would feel comfortable, if we had that in prior to. It's like, hey, we had this in the guideline. We said not to wear anything that you're campaigning for. You wore something that you're campaigning for a particular candidate or ballot proposition. You knew the, what is it? If you can't do the crime, don't do the time. Yes. So that's where I stand. So I'm interested to see if what we come up with as far as expulsion or suspension or 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is that we come to, but that's where I land. Councilmember Ron?
Real quick, when were you elected as chair? January. Okay, thank you. So again, I'd be okay with a, like you said, a 5-year suspension as an option, because leadership changes, people's perspective changes, membership changes. And so it'd be a shame to see. And one of the other concerns is you may have just one rogue member, you may have many, but at least one rogue member that can ruin it for everybody. I don't think that it should be a permanent expulsion because of one rogue member either. I think if we settle on something like 5 years, it sends a very strong message that says, come on, make sure you follow the guidelines and have a good day out there with us celebrating our nation. But I'm assuming these guidelines, it's funny because we didn't talk about the Christmas parade in these guidelines either, and whether or not there's something similar. Could you clarify?
Yeah, I believe these guidelines apply to both parades.
Okay.
Erica, is that
Yes,
case?
yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, look, we've got the guidelines out there. I think if we put a policy in place that says, if you do violate the guidelines and it's a infraction, then it has a real result. But I also don't think it should expel your organizations in perpetuity either. So I'd be okay with that.
So can I make a motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I could make a couple of comments. One, based on what I've heard, if you want to proceed along those lines, the motion should be to grant the appeal, allow the organization to participate in the parade, and to have the staff bring back regulations that would clarify of no campaigning, and that have consequences of a bar or whatever with respect to violations. I don't think we can do that tonight. I don't think we can do that for this parade. Those are going to be complicated to write to make sure that everybody's on board with them. And then the second part of that is because you are changing a very significant regulation, you should open up the time for other entrants to come back in and make an application to participate in the parade. Because some may have seen that, decided, no, I'm a partisan organization, I can't participate in it, and now that you're changing that, you need to bring it back. I think you leave that up to the staff as to how long that period should be, and they will make notice on the city's website as to that change. But I would love to craft a regulation for you to impose tonight, but I just don't think it's going to work this quickly. And then you can examine what happened in this parade, and maybe you have other ideas, but we could definitely bring back additional regulations along the lines you've talked about in the next few months.
Councilmember Schwenk?
Yeah, so I can certainly support the intent of what we're talking about here. There has to be a mechanism for, a violation. Like, it has to be punishable by something other than staff saying you can't come in, and then you come back to council, and you make appeal to council, and then we debate it, and we talk about it. So I'll support this if there's, a 5-year, I think is probably reasonable ban on an entry. But let's also sort of think about this. This year is going to be a nothing burger year. There's no elections this year, right? So next year is the test, right? So next year's a test. So if you have an entry and staff comes to you and says, hey, you've got your one sign, so follow the sign part, so you can have only 2 banners or signs, either 2 banners or 2 signs, or a combination of 1 banner and 1 sign. So you can have that, with the name of your entry on it. But if you have other signs and T-shirts and things like that, and staff, says, hey, you can't have that, again, there has to be some meat behind this. It can't just be like, hey, we're going to do it this year. So I'm counting on you, as the new leader of MTRA, to hold your group accountable. Because we're not asking, these are the guidelines, and I can certainly get behind the intent of this. Don't want to exclude anyone at all, but we want everyone to be there for the sole reason that we're there that day. The only reason that our city comes together is for Independence Day. And so let's do that.
I completely agree. And I think we should also look at, because it's inevitable that one day, obviously state council policy can always be changed, but one day someone will go against the guideline and they'll get that first strike for the 5 years. I think we should look into, like the 3-strike rule, where first offense 5 years, second offense 10 years, third offense lifetime. Obviously, it's a city council policy where the MTRA could just change their name to the MRA, and then, but to me, it's, the 3-strike rule, you get 1 offense, you get 5 years, second offense, you get 10 years, third offense, lifetime ban. And I think that's the mechanism. And I know for this year, it sounds like we're not going to be able to have these regulations in place for this parade, but at the same time, the city council, there's no elections this year, so this will be the same city council sitting up here next year. And we know that we want a 5-year ban. So if you do go against it this year, even though it's not in the regulations, we know that you have a 5-year ban. And there'll be 5 of us or 4 of us up here that are of the same opinion where we are today. So even though it may not be put into the regulations, legally, we know that we wanted a 5-year ban, and we create the policy, we enforce the policy. I don't think so. Thank you, though. We can discuss it later.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I could, I don't mean to be presumptuous, but if I could articulate a motion for you that may clarify some of these issues, and then you can go for that. The motion would be to grant the appeal filed by the Murrieta Temecula Republican Assembly, allow them to participate in the July 4, 2025 parade, direct the staff to bring back regulations that would impose penalties for violation of the regulations, and to explain the extent to which campaigning is or is not allowed in the parade. And then the fourth item would be to allow an extension of time for other applicants to join the July 4, 2025 parade.
I'll make that motion.
Very well articulated, Stu.
Second.
That has been motioned and seconded. Let us vote. And for everyone out there, I believe we have 27 entries currently, or 28, with the possibility of 70. We want more people. We want more participation. Apply. All right, item number 32 passes unanimously, 4-0. We will have Mayor Pro Tem Alexander, who was listening in, right on cue.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, now for 32B, or 32.2. This is the appeal by the Sons of the American Revolution. Again, this is asking for a waiver. This is not a denial of entry in the parade. This is a waiver for the use of firearms. So we would now ask you to go ahead and consider that appeal, reaffirm the relevant section of the policy, and/or give any other direction you would like.
Thank you very much, Madam City Clerk. First, Mayor Pro Tem, were you able to hear the public comments on this matter?
Yes, Mayor.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's start off the discussion again. I know Stu started off last time. I don't know if you want to go back to back here, but we can start off the discussion with whoever we want.
Okay. I have a little bit differing opinion than the staff on this. I am okay. I think we have, as a nation, and we especially as government, has kind of went to the far extreme end of protection, or almost protection of emotional harm. And so I don't have a problem with them carrying their muskets that are non-firing. And so, and I understand, the sheriff's department doesn't want to be in the gun inspection business. I get that. But to confirm 4 muskets doesn't have the flintlock on, how hard is that? I mean, I personally think it adds to the visual of the fact that, especially in this case, the visual that we literally fought for our freedom with those guns.
Thank you, Councilmember Stewart.
That's me.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I'll go ahead and go, Mr. Mayor.
You got it.
Okay, so I'm genuinely conflicted on this, to be honest with you. And Councilmember Ron alluded to it earlier. It wasn't the mass shooting in Highland Park on the 4th of July. That wasn't that was certainly top of our mind because we were here that morning and getting the detailed information from RSO and sort of that intel of what was happening, just as we're about to kick off our Independence Day parade, was troubling to say the least. But the real issue that day was we had an entry that had weapons, and they were asked and then told, is there anything in those guns? Oh, just blanks. You're not going to shoot those, right? No, we're not going to shoot those. But they did shoot them in the parade, hours after a mass shooting in Highland Park. And so our team went into full-on protection mode because there's an active shooter, right? That's what they're thinking. And I think that's really where we're at. So it isn't, there was this event that happened, and it happened here. And so that's really where we kind of land now in leaning on public safety, where public safety is the utmost important thing that we do as a city. And when you're trying to have an event with thousands of people, and then all of a sudden you hear gunshots and you go into reaction mode, and we've got a team sort of like trying to figure out what's going on. And we come to find out it's one of the parade entries that assured us we weren't going to shoot our weapons, but they did shoot their weapons. And so it really caught us all off guard. And much like the last item, we've been burned a few times. And so it isn't this one sort of item that we come to make this harsh decision, or this decision that's viewed in a harsh way. It's really like a series of events that happen where we collectively lean on our intuition of like, okay, well, is this safe? And I actually my gut trusts you, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not super worried. I think where the concern lies is when you do an exemption. I don't know if we have to open it back up to other groups to then come back in the parade because they wanted to, but so I don't know what that looks like. But to piggyback off some of the comments of what was said about our founding fathers and connections to the revolution, my son is very much into genealogy, and he does his homework, and he sits on the couch and sort of goes through this stuff. And on his mother's side, his 8th great-grandfather is Thomas Sargent III, who fought in the American Revolution, right? So I think we all have some connection to that, and it's meaningful. But it's a tough decision. I'm honestly struggling with it. And it's more than just there could be possible physical harm, so it isn't just like that sort of like, oh, we heard gunshots and we're being, people can actually get hurt and potentially killed, and we've seen that if you don't have a good armory or a good armor or whatever the correct term is for this. If that isn't taken care of properly, someone could be killed, and I don't know if I want that on my watch. So that's just my initial comments, but again, I'm conflicted, to be honest with you.
Thank you, Councilmember Schwank. Councilmember Ron?
So I'm a little less conflicted because we had spoken. So, I served on a color guard myself, and we removed the firing pins on our rifles. And so, I get it. However, when I hate to say how many years ago that was, but it was a different time then, and different sensitivities and different things that had happened, in the preceding years. My default, and I mentioned this to the gentleman who is in charge of the event, my default, however, is with the Sheriff's Department, because all of us up here are not providing security for the event, and we're not overseeing the use of any firearms. And in fact, this policy specifically states that no firearms, even replicas, would be allowed at the event. And we went through this as a council and subcommittee and all that years ago. And it was, placing, I think, a significant onus on the Sheriff's Department to then, become experts in the variety of different firearms and things that are out there to ensure that they're safe. And let's be honest, I understand that, you would run a safe crew, and we spoke, and I trust that that's the case. But we've also seen accidents and things happen that shouldn't have. You know, if we could, I don't want to put our police chief on the spot here, but maybe provide a couple of words on this, because ultimately, like I told you, I said what their default is going to be my position, because candidly, I'm not providing security for the event, and I'm not policing those firearms or you know, having their concerns for public safety of a very large, very public, very crowded event. And so I'd just like to hear from Captain Regali on this issue, if you don't mind.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Certainly appreciate the opportunity.
I'm sure.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. As you stated earlier, the Sheriff's Office really not in a position where we want to take on the role of monitoring, inspecting, and being responsible for the firearms that are being introduced into this parade. It's just not practical. It's a liability, quite honestly, that I do not want to take on, and I don't know really that the city should take on that liability. Councilman Schwank, you talked about the incident in 2022. I was a lieutenant at the time working here. I was actually the one who was involved in that. Beyond the obvious problem about hearing gunfire when there wasn't supposed to be any, and I was one of those who started to go into reaction mode thinking, well, this is our turn, unfortunately, and we're getting ready to go, and we got to do what we got to do. But beyond that, what I saw was a lot of small children and parents with small kids, kids covering their ears, parents shielding, dogs going crazy on leashes. And I think maybe we should all just take a moment to pause and think about, as we celebrate our country, right, and rightfully so, who is this event really for, right? So I just quickly jumped on here, and in 2020, the population of children under the age of 18 in Temecula was approximately 28,000 kids. And of that 28,000, 7,600 of them were under 5 years of age. Temecula is a family community. These events, yes, are to celebrate our country, but they're intended for our young families, children, small children, strollers, wagons, dogs on leashes, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa. And I do believe that we can all get together and celebrate our country in a meaningful way that doesn't necessarily require the introduction of firearms into it. We are, to your point, Councilman Ron, in a much different space and time, unfortunately. Firearms have been introduced into a number of different areas with tragic results. And I'm no expert on this. I think I saw a gentleman sitting in the back who is actually a Marine. And so I don't want to pretend like I'm an expert in this area, but in the limited research that I did, I am aware that it is possible to have the Marine Color Guard honor the flag and march in our parade and do so unarmed, that they do that. Specifically in the research I saw, it says they do that in parades. Clearly, they're also able to be armed, generally for more formal events, funerals and whatnot. There's nothing that would prevent an active duty Marine to be able to come and march in our parade and be armed and do that safely. They're active duty military, and that would be right and honorable. And they're accountable to supervisors. They're accountable to a government entity. There is oversight of those people who are involved. And so we can take comfort that they are doing it the correct way. And I don't mean this in any disrespectful manner to anybody else who would participate and want to bring guns, but they are not accountable to anybody. They are a collection of individuals, yes, citizens, yes, passionate about their position, and I get that and I respect that and I do, but they do not have the same accountability to a government entity like we do, like the military does. And so we cannot say with any degree of certainty who some of the individuals are, or the condition of their firearms, or what they have. They're marching down the street with blanks in one pocket and live rounds in another. In advance of tonight, I talked to one of my peer captains at the Hoopa Valley Station. I'm aware of an incident in 2023, some sort of a Revolutionary War reenactment occurring at a county park, where at one point in time, simultaneously, 50 different participants facing off to one another, all fired what was supposed to be blank rounds when somebody had a loaded gun, and shot somebody on the other side. The person almost died in the park. Luckily, he did not. He was given medical aid on scene and transported to a local hospital where he made a full recovery. So thank goodness for that. So at the end of the day, as your police chief, when this council asks me for my opinion, asks me to make an assessment on what I think is best for our community, our citizens, our children who come to these things, I've given you my honest assessment. The fewer guns that are present, right, that deputy sheriffs who are in the space watching and monitoring are having to watch and decide, is that somebody I need to be worried about? What's going on with that? Why is he messing with that? Why is it pointing in this direction? I really hope that that's empty. I really hope that that's not capable of firing. The assessment I give to you is that I think that that's what's in the best interest of our families that come to celebrate our Independence Day. And so that's the best, explanation I can provide to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor Pro Tem? Let's do it.
All right, I just needed to hear from some of my council, and also, Captain Regali, thank you so much for that, because it gives a lot of insight. I think everybody here knows my background. 5 years in the United States Marine Corps, police officer. I've been doing color guard since I was in high school with the Explorers. The color guard for me symbolizes something more powerful sometimes than we even fathom anymore. We don't even have an understanding of our history. And sir, when you came up to the council a couple weeks ago, you ignited a fire in me. And I want to tell you thank you, because I went back through and started looking and researching the history of the color guard and the symbolization and the understanding of why we have weapons right next to our colors. I have a ton of notes here that I want to read, but I think a lot of us have really had the opportunity to kind of put it all on the table. It's important for me to have heard from the citizens, from our council, from the sheriff and the staff. And if you want to just ask me straight out, I love guns. I want to have all the guns possible in there, because they represent security, strength, freedom, our nation. It really does. I'm very strong about that. But then I have to listen to our sheriff, and I want to listen to my council, and I want to listen to the families. And so listening to my council and listening to everybody right now, I want to propose something, because I have a feeling I know where this is going to go. Just listening and knowing some of my council already, I would like to propose to the council that right now it sounds like we are not in favor, or the council is not in favor of bringing weapons back. Some may be a little kind of back and forth. Some are absolutely opposed. However, Captain Regali, one of the things that you mentioned, and that was mentioned that I had proposed to staff and yourself and the city attorney, is that we've been afforded an opportunity that the United States Marine Corps come and do the color guard themselves here, which I absolutely love. We spoke with Vic, one of our deputies, and also Captain Regali after, and they were in favor of at least having the color guard marching with weapons in the parade. They'll be stock weapons. They won't actually be able to fire at all. So I want to propose and ask for the first time here in our city to bring the United States Marine Corps with the colors, and also having the Sons of the American Revolution. I would like you gentlemen and ladies to be, or you gentlemen to be behind them. This might not be the opportunity right now to bring your weapons. I would love to see that, honestly. But also I want to see that you guys are being highlighted for your family and for the generations of what they did and the importance of the colors and everything. I'm trying to find a happy medium. Again, if it was up to me, I'd say, come on in, jump in with every musket you have. But I have to sit here and be halfway in the middle to be able to still represent the colors and still represent the safety of our city. So that's where I stand. I'd love to hear from the mayor. I don't know if that was something we could do. Again, I want to try and be able to move forward and have something regarding our nation and its history rather than nothing.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem. Well, the great news is we have a lot of leeway on what we can and can't do as City Council. But I wanted to hear from my colleagues and also the chief, and I completely understand and respect what the chief said, and I also completely understand and respect what the citizens said and the Sons of the American Revolution said and what my colleagues said. And one of the speakers said that the main piece of symbolism is the American flag. Right? It's not a musket, it's not a rifle, it's not a bayonet, it's not a sword. The main symbolism of the Declaration of Independence is the American flag. Now, is it guarded by the muskets in this case? Are the colors guarded by that? Sure. But really, they were guarded by the hands, right? The American hands are the ones that hold a musket, are the ones that hold a sword. It was the American spirit that led us forward against the tyrannical government that we left and started this great nation. So for me, although I understand and completely understand the want to hold that symbol in a parade, I can also completely understand that we are not the ones, the five of us up here, providing the security for that event. Our sheriff's department and our chief of police are the ones that hold that responsibility. But we up here representing the city hold the liability if something goes wrong. That is on us, on the taxpayers, to hold on to that liability. But that's where I stand. I understand the want to have the symbolism of the muskets, just like Mayor Pro Tem. I'm also, I think my colleagues up here as well are very pro-Second Amendment, very pro-safe gun handling and all of that. And I'm also not opposed whatsoever to having active duty Marines in the parade with their weapons, their duty weapons, their stock weapons that don't shoot. But for me, I totally understand the want to have the musket, but I also understand that regardless if we had the musket or the rifle or the sword, we would defend that flag regardless. So I think that what I am understanding is that we would not want the Sons of the American Revolution to have their replica muskets in the parade, but it seems like the happy medium maybe is the active duty Marines carrying stock weapons in the parade, which I'm not opposed to.
Or any service members. I don't want to just say Marines,
Right.
but any service members, I think, in general. And I think one of those things that was discussed also with the city attorney is looking at the JROTC as well, because they are under the command of a active duty or reserve individual, and they felt comfortable with that as well. So, but I think leading the parade, I think would be important to really highlight the symbolization of what this entire Parade of Independence is all about. But I would love to see you guys right behind them. So,
How do our colleagues feel about the active duty service members carrying stock weapons?
Well, again, I will default and just look for a thumbs up or down from our police chief on that item. Marine Corps stock weapons, up or down on that, sir? Okay.
Chief is walking to the podium for those watching online.
I want to be clear about this. The active duty military personnel, absolutely appropriate. They have the right to do that, and they should. And I think that that's perfectly acceptable.
Thank you.
if I can just jump in, and ensuring that they're under direct command, not just an active duty member.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, colleagues. Anyone else have any input on that? Councilmember Schwenk?
Yeah, I think we've been trying to get the Marine Corps color guard here for quite some time. So if we could make that happen, I'm completely comfortable with that. I think it would just be, I mean, I would just be honored to even be a part of that, right? So let's do that.
Mr. City Attorney, would you like to articulate a motion for the council as you've understood what we've said?
I would be happy to.
Thank you, sir.
The motion would be to deny the appeal of the Sons of the American Revolution, but direct staff to provide an exemption from the guideline prohibiting weapons to allow active duty military units, including junior ROTC, under direct command to participate as color guards with their weapons. And then further, to allow the Sons of the American Revolution to march behind the military unit.
Articulated perfectly. I will entertain a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item 32B. That motion passes unanimously, 5-0. Thank you very much for the discussion to my colleagues and for all the public speakers that spoke tonight. We will go back to now our public comments on non-agenda items. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
We do, Mr. Mayor. We have 4 public comments on non-agendized items. The first speaker is Laurel Lamont, to be followed by Tracy Killian.
Welcome, Ms. Lamont.
Hi. All right. I want to talk about warehouse at Creekside and the documents in which I requested. So I requested inspection from warehouse at Creekside because the building, when it was built without plumbing cleanouts and dryer vents, at least to my knowledge, in my own unit. That is not up to building code today or then under city regulation. Who's responsible for that? Do we answer for that? Does that matter? Have any of you read that regulatory agreement? Do any of you understand that regulatory agreement? Because that regulatory agreement not only doesn't follow a HUD or a low-income housing tax credit standard, it just applies a health and safety code in the interest of the developer. So, for example, rent is based on a 3-person household making $96,525 in a 2-bedroom unit. I'm a 2-person household, and I make $52,900. But I'm charged rent based on $96,000 and 3 people. I am 1 person bringing in $52,990. As the self-proclaimed housing advocate, what is your interest in this, Zach Schwenk? What are you doing about it? Were you even aware of it? What are you going to do? I've spent how long? Good stewards and local control. Local control made this contract. But all other affordable housing follows a state regulation that protects the tenants and the lower income. Local control created these rules and passed this building that does not meet development standards. Do something.
Thank you, Ms. Lamont. And city staff, can we just ensure, I think all myself and my colleagues would like to know that our affordable housing buildings are up to building code. Can we put together something to just ensure that we're developed to building code?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Our next public speaker, please, Madam Clerk.
The next speaker is Tracy Killian, to be followed by Francis Fong.
Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Actually, we just wanted to introduce ourselves. This is Chad Basie. I'm Tracy Killian. We're with the American Legion. We're post 852, Temecula, Murrieta. And we don't know you, and we would like to. And we would like people to know about us. And we're just grateful for the opportunity. American Legion is a nonpartisan veterans organization. It's open to all veterans with honorable discharge. And the American Legion Auxiliary is open to all spouses of veterans, male or female descendants down to grandchildren. And it's an opportunity for camaraderie for veterans, for them to have people to understand what they've been through and develop friendships. It's opportunity for us to serve our military and our veterans and our community. So we just wanted this opportunity to say hello and hope to get to know you better and hopefully be invited to some events. We will be in the parade. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. We're excited to see you in the parade.
The next speaker is Francis Fong, to be followed by Jennifer Paulo.
Good evening, Francis.
Hey, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, and City of Temecula. The City of Hope Blood Donor Center in Duarte is a place where courage and kindness begin. We are so grateful to be able to bring our impactful blood drive to the beautiful city of Temecula at Pachanga Resort Casino on Tuesday, June 17th, from 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Am I able to show the flyer?
Absolutely. If you just pull up the.
Oh, just right here?
Yep, you got to pull up.
Oh, pull it
there
up?
it is.
Okay.
And just place it
This,
right under there. If you put it on face, there
Like
it
this?
is. Should come up there in a second. Here.
Okay. Please come schedule your appointment on this flyer, and walk-ins are welcome. We are all touched by cancer. We all know somebody with cancer, a neighbor, a friend, a coworker, someone closer to you, uncle, an aunt, a cousin, a nephew, or a niece, or even closer, a grandmother, a grandfather, a grandson, or a granddaughter, a son, a daughter, a brother, a sister, mother or father, husband or wife. And it's comforting to know that right here in Southern California, less than 80 miles away, which I personally know because I just came from there, is a world-class top cancer center in the entire country. Every drop of blood goes directly to these brave cancer patients. We don't sell our blood to other hospitals, big pharma, biomedical companies, or academic centers. Every single drop of blood we collect goes to our cancer patients right here, right now. I have a very unique view of the blood donation journey. I am a blood drive coordinator at City of Hope. I am also a committed platelet donor. In fact, I just donated yesterday. And most importantly, I was a caregiver to my own son at just 8 years old, was taken to the City of Hope and was diagnosed with leukemia, blood cancer. And my wife is also right here. No parent should ever hear the words, "your child has cancer." Thanks to the world-class care he received at City of Hope and the selfless generosity of blood donors, today he is a 2-time leukemia survivor. Just 2 weeks ago, he received his MBA, and later this year, he will turn 25 years old. I'm forever grateful and honored to work for an organization that saved my son's life twice. And I ask everyone to please come donate on Tuesday, June 17th at Pachanga. And I ask not just for a hospital, but for that father that is at the hospital right now, where I sat 18 years ago, worried about how am I going to take time off of work to care for my son. I am speaking for that mother that is sitting in the hospital right now, sitting in the same chair my wife sat in, worried about how is she going to keep her family together caring for a child with cancer. So you are saving lives today by donating blood. Please come out. And more importantly, you are able to bring forth a whole new generation of people. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here and telling your story.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Jennifer Paulo.
Good evening, Jennifer.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm going to put this here. Does that show up well? There we go. Mayor Kalfas and Temecula City Council members, I'm Jennifer Paulo, Communications Chair of Local Branch 1034 of the NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Founded in 1909, the NAACP is the nation's oldest and largest civil rights organization, founded by Black and white activists who together addressed the problem of racism in the United States in the early 20th century. Our Branch 1034, chartered in 1977, represents the communities of Southwest Riverside County, Lake Elsinore, Corona, Norco, Canyon Lake, Wildomar, Murrieta, Temecula, Menifee, and Paris. Our mission is to achieve equity, political rights, and social inclusion by advancing policies and practices that expand human and civil rights, eliminate discrimination, and accelerate the well-being, education, and economic security of Black people and all persons of color. I am here to invite all of you and the residents of Temecula to our upcoming Juneteenth celebration on Friday, June 20th at the Diamond Stadium in Lake Elsinore. Because our branch covers all the communities of Southwest Riverside County, we want to invite each community to join us for this national holiday. Juneteenth comes from the spontaneous celebration that occurred when Black Americans were informed of their freedom in Texas on June 19, 1865, more than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. In the years following, June 19th would become a day of celebrating freedom for Black Americans. It culminated in Juneteenth being declared a national holiday for all Americans in 2021. Our event is from 5 to 9 on Friday, June 20th at the Lake Elsinore Diamond Stadium. We will have a full program of entertainment, music, dance, poetry, spoken word artists, as well as inspirational speakers. 30-plus vendors will be on hand along with a diversity of food offerings. The event is free and family-friendly. In addition, we are looking for more sponsors for our event, so if anyone in the room has a heart for civil rights, we'd love to have you join us in support for our branch and all the work we do in Southwest Riverside County. Lastly, we extend an invitation for all to be involved in our local branch by joining as a member. We meet the fourth Saturday of each month at Grace and Truth Worship Ministry in Lake Elsinore. Please visit our website at naacp-branch1034.org for more information. And thank you for the opportunity to represent the NAACP tonight, 116 years strong in advancing the cause of liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. Madam City Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that includes public comments on non-agendized items. I know we're going to be coming up on the consent calendar here, so if you would like, we can go ahead and hear comments, public comments on consent calendar items at this time.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have a public comment, 2 public comments on number 6 and 1 public comment on number 12. So the first public comment on number 6 is Jillian Larson, to be followed by Ann Laurie. Number 6, the consent calendar is related to boards, committees, and commissions.
Welcome, Mrs. Larson.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, commissioners, and Temecula residents that are virtual this evening or tomorrow when it's online. So the rumors I've been hearing about disbanding the community service, traffic safety, and ready commissions are unfortunately not just rumors. They're on your agenda tonight. I find it hard to believe that you would consider removing dedicated commissioners who give so generously of their time and energy to serve the public in such a visible and impactful ways. These commissioners are out in the community, attending events of all demographics, listening, engaging, and representing the city with care and attentiveness. They are your eyes and ears, bridging the gap between city leadership and residents, helping ensure that the needs of our diverse community are seen and heard. Their presence demonstrates that the city cares. We see them everywhere. We hear their reports at meetings. We follow their outreach and updates on social media. Their service brings a human touch to local government, something that cannot be easily replaced. I'm sure there must be reasons behind this proposal, but from where I stand, they are difficult to understand. I've lived in Temecula for 23 years and can say sincerely that the work of these commissioners have added real value to my life as a resident. I ask you to please reconsider, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Larson. And we do have a public hearing in August, and I encourage you to come. We will be discussing the future of our commissions. Madam City Clerk, next speaker, please.
Yes, the next speaker on number 6 is Ann Laurie.
Good evening, Ann.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff. I've been a resident of Temecula for more than 40 years, before the 15 freeway went through, which of course is the bane of our existence in some ways, before we had a high school. Back in the good old days when you could drive down Front Street, see a car you recognized, and stop and have a conversation in the middle of the street because there was no traffic. So I've been here for a long time. I've served this community and this county as a deputy district attorney and also as a judicial officer. I love this city. I have seldom been ashamed of it, but this item on this agenda makes me ashamed in this city. I'm here to speak against dissolution of the Race, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Commission. Listening to the beautiful invocation by Pastor Davis tonight, I cannot help but feel that he was thinking of this item on the agenda because he talked about the beauty of diversity and inclusion and equity to all under law. And I hope you all heard those words. I certainly did. Diversity, equity, and inclusion have always been very laudable goals, or at least they were until someone named Donald Trump came along with his Project 2025. And he twisted those goals and those words. If you do not support racial diversity, then you must not much like our history here in Temecula as a land settled by Native Americans and Mexicans for hundreds of years before white Europeans came here. If you dislike equity, then you must believe that we should not all have a fair and equal shot in life. No inclusion, then no one who isn't a perfectly healthy, white, straight male ever gets a job or is even seen. That's what inclusion is about. Anyone opposing DEI is bowing down to a convicted felon, an adjudicated rapist who does not care one fig about anyone but himself, and making billions of dollars off of his office by feeding red meat to his cult. His anti-DEI agenda is about distracting people from the fact that he is stealing billions from us while sowing division in this country over such issues. If you vote to dismantle this DEI commission, that serves his us versus them agenda of division in this country. And if you do that, shame on you. You're defiling your oath of office to represent everyone.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and
Thank you.
speaking.
Mr. Mayor, the last comment is from Jillian Larson regarding agenda item number 12, and that is in regards to conducting city council meetings.
Welcome back.
I actually read it as conduct, not conducting, so I put it in for two different sections. Anyway, good evening again, Mayor, City staff, Commissioners, and Temecula residents who are watching virtually. So I watched your recent meeting on YouTube and your discussion regarding the proposed change in the City Council meeting time. It seems clear that the intent behind this proposal was to improve public engagement so that our residents can be more informed, and I hope you present that to our residents so that it can be received as such. You all shared some thoughtful perspectives. However, I noticed the conversation didn't dive deeply into the why in-person attendance tends to be low. I was surprised you may not be aware of the fairly robust virtual participation, both on Channel 3 and YouTube. Personally, I attend meetings in person when I have something specific to say, or when a topic of interest is on the agenda. Otherwise, I regularly follow meetings via YouTube because it allows me to stay informed while accommodating my schedule. Plus, YouTube can be referred back to forever. Watching online offers several advantages. I can view it on my own time, skip through sections that aren't relevant to me, and multitask while listening, none of which are possible when attending in person. I don't believe that simply changing the meeting time will significantly increase engagement. Many of the obstacles were addressed in your discussion. Our residents are busy. Many are unaware of when meetings occur or how to access them. The agendas are long and sometimes hard to navigate, and much of the content may not feel relevant to the average person. As we've seen, the chamber is typically full during recognitions, whether it's for proclamations, awards, or when students attend to fulfill government class requirements. These moments bring in the family and friends of those being honored, creating a temporary spike in attendance. Your proposed idea of starting meetings at 3 p.m., reorganizing the agenda to prioritize city business and public comments on agenda items while those residents are present, and then general public comments after that, concluding with recognitions and proclamations at a clearly advertised time, seems like a practical compromise. City recognition is an essential action for City Council to demonstrate our council does acknowledge our residents. It would also allow proclamations to remain part of the council meeting where they belong. The Reddy Commission has, however, done a remarkable job with the proclamations they were responsible for. They have aced every proclamation. It's their tagline: acknowledged, congratulated the group, and they educated our residents. Thank you for your continued commitment to thoughtful public service and continued thoughts as to how you might increase attendance. Perhaps ask your constituents if you haven't already. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for perfectly timing the 3 minutes there, Mrs. Larson.
Mr. Mayor, that concludes public comments on the entire agenda tonight.
Thank you very much, Madam City Clerk. We will move on to our City Council reports. Let's start off with Councilmember Stewart.
All right, I believe I have a slide. It's that time of year again, the summer concert series. And so 2 days from now, right out in front of City Hall, we have Stone Soul, which if you've never heard them before, they are probably the most fun band. They're very, very talented, but they're incredibly fun to watch. So be there this Thursday at 7 o'clock, and it's a great time. And we do these community events to create community. And so that's what's important about this summer concert series, is when you come, there's no Republicans, there's no Democrats, there's no independents, there's people who love good music. And to me, that is what I want to create in Temecula. So come Thursday night, so every 2 weeks, all summer long, we've got another concert going on. Taylor Swift for all the Swifties out there, and then there's several other, and we end with the Journey Band, I think the last weekend of July. So yeah, please come out, support these concerts. We've got the Sunset Market that's going to take place at the exact same time. So not only will you be able to set up early, you can grab some food from the food vendors, look at the little shoppies around the cul-de-sac there, and just make a great evening out of it. So I highly recommend show up, set up your chairs, have some food, walk around, and enjoy a beautiful summer concert series. Done.
Well said, Stu. I have to ask, are you a Swiftie? Councilmember Schwenk?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just have one slide. I didn't expect we would talk for an hour and a half about the 4th of July parade and extravaganza, but here we are. So Friday, July 4th, please join us down here in Old Town at 10 a.m. for our Independence Day parade, and then head on over to Ronald Reagan Sports Park for a ton of family fun. That runs from 2 to 10 with the fireworks show at 9 o'clock. I'm really looking forward to seeing the community out there. It's a great opportunity to come and be part of the community and celebrate our country and just really have a wonderful family-friendly time in our beautiful city. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem?
All righty, thank you, Mayor. So I just have two things. I'm sure you're going to hit on a little bit of the state of the city possibly, but just a little bit. But I just wanted to say thank you to the staff for all that they did. It's just extraordinary to watch what you guys do over time. And I think there can always be hiccups and things that happen prior to, but it's incredible how you guys just always really get it done. And so I just hats off to all of you, and also to the mayor. I think you were there till 9 p.m. the night before. Yep, practicing. So thank you for providing all of that for the residents and the people. It was just an excellent job from everybody. The last thing I just wanted to touch upon is it's time for summer adventures from the RTA. So for individuals who are interested in riding the bus, I know everybody just loves to get on the bus nowadays, but if you are, especially for students, through July 1st through August 31st, you can get on those buses for 25 cents. It does exclude a Dial-A-Ride, U-Pass, and Go-Pass. Participants are free for those. But if you are interested in riding the bus, I suggest that you get onto the RTA and find your route and figure out how you can get on pretty cheap. So just another thing that we have available to the public, especially our high school students. So thank you.
Thank you very much, MBT. I have one slide, and it is about the state of the city. There it is. This past Thursday, I believe it was, last week, we had our annual State of the City. It was my first one that I was able to do, and I just, again, want to reiterate what my MPT said, my Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you to city staff. It is a large event. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce. It is their biggest business event of the year. Thank you to everyone involved, from our social media team to Louisa, our executive staff, everyone that put on a great show. I had a great time, and I hope everyone did as well. And if you haven't been to one, I encourage you, for the residents out there, to go to the State of the City, get involved, network, have fun, have breakfast. So next year, I'm sure it's going to be a great one as well. So thank you. That's all I have for my City Council report. We will move on to our consent calendar. Item number 1, waive reading of title and text of all ordinances and resolutions included in the agenda. Item number 2, approve action minutes of May 22nd and May 27th, 2025. Item number 3, approve list of demands. Item number 4, adopt ordinance number 2025-08, adopting fire hazard severity zone maps for the city of Temecula, prepared by the State Fire Marshal, second reading. To be consistent with prior vote, we will have James Stewart and Matt Ron abstaining from item number 4. Item number 5, approved financial statements for the third quarter ended March 31st, 2025. Number 6, adopt resolution related to the Community Services Commission, Race, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Commission, and Traffic Safety Commission. Item number 7, approve annual renewal of city insurance policies. Item number 8, approve agreement with Webb Municipal Finance, LLC for assessment engineering and community facilities district administrative services. Item number 9, approve agreement with Animal Friends of the Valleys, Inc. for animal control services. 10, approve sponsorship and economic development funding agreement with Temecula Valley Balloon and Wine Festival Association for the Temecula Valley Balloon and Wine Festival. Number 11, approve agreement with Care Solace, Inc. for 24/7 essential care support and coordination. Item number 12, introduce ordinance and adopt resolution regarding the conduct of regular city council meetings. 13, approve First Amendment to cooperative agreement with County of Riverside Fire Department for fire protection, fire prevention, rescue, fire marshal, and medical emergency services. 14, adopt list of projects to be funded by Senate Bill 1, SB 1 for fiscal year 25-26. 15, approve plans for and specifications and authorize solicitation of construction bids for sidewalks, Paba Road, PW 19-20. 16, authorize budget transfer and increase construction contingency for sidewalk citywide Yanez Road, Rancho Highland Drive to Tierra Vista Road, project PW 17-28. 17, award construction contract to CT&T Concrete Paving, Inc. for citywide concrete repairs fiscal year 24-25, PW 2406. 18, award construction contract to Vance Corporation for citywide pavement rehab, Rancho Way, Santiago Road, and Felix Valdez Avenue project, PW 24-08. 19, approve agreement with ABM Industry Groups, LLC for janitorial services for city facilities. 20, approve agreement with Aztec Landscaping, Inc., DBA Aztec Janitorial for janitorial services for park restrooms. 21, approve Second Amendment to agreement with Blanca A. Yanes, DBA De Gange Consulting for landscape plan check and inspection services. 22, approve Fourth Amendment to agreement with Mariposa Tree Management, Inc. for citywide tree trimming maintenance services. Approve Sixth Amendment to agreement with Nees Landscape, LLC for landscape maintenance services. 24, adopt resolution accepting Temecula Center Drive into the city-maintained system with track map 37509 and 36336. And finally, number 25, receive and file temporary street closures for 2025 Summerfest events. Do any of my colleagues want to pull any items for discussion or comments?
I'll move consent if no one wants to pull anything.
Second.
I will just say, to be consistent with my prior vote, I'll just vote no on 12. Other than that, I'm good to go.
All right, I would like to just pull number 12 for a comment, but unless no one wants to discuss it, I can just give my comment after we vote on the balance. All right, so we will vote on the balance. We'll be pulling number 12 for comments.
So we're not voting on 12 right now?
Yeah, we'll wait to vote on 12.
Okay.
We'll vote on the balance. Please vote. All right, and that passes 5-0. Item number 12, which was introduce ordinance and adopt resolution regarding the conduct of the regular city council meetings. Are you okay if I start off, Councilmember Ron? So there's just been a lot of talk about the change in city council meetings, which is understandable. And anytime the city council changes, especially the meeting time, it should be talked about, and it should be very transparent in the way we do our business here at the city. For me, the basis of the want to change and me bringing that forward, at first I wanted the morning meetings, right? I was looking at 10 a.m. After deliberation with my colleagues, we came to a consensus that 3 p.m. was the slotted time. But my foundation for that was, when we look at things, is the current process working? And the question is, in my mind, I would say I would err on the side that it's not working. Or it's, well, why or how would I say that the process that we're currently doing is not working? And tonight's a perfect example. There's a handful of people in the crowd that aren't commissioners. I think specifically two or three people in the crowd. And it is about 8:15, almost 8:20. And so for me, with 2 or 3 people in the crowd, to me, it's a lack of public participation. And the question is why is there a lack of participation? Is it because of the time? Is it too late for people to come here? I don't know. I really genuinely don't know. Is it because the city of Temecula and the city council does such a good job at handling our business that people don't have complaints? That very well could be it. And being biased to ourselves, I would say that's probably it. But I would say that there is a lack of public input and public participation. So the basis for me bringing forward, the introduction of wanting to change the time was to see if we can increase public participation. And this really is a policy that can't be surveyed, it can't be really understood or figured out unless we try it. And to me, I always say my favorite thing about city council policy is the ability for it to be changed. And with the 3 p.m., it could come back that, hey, 3 p.m. was actually worse. Instead of having 2 people in the audience at the end of the meeting, there's 1 person in the audience. And worst comes to worst, we change it back to 6 p.m. And I really don't know what the best time for the meeting is. Nobody knows, because we've done 7 p.m., we've done 6 p.m., maybe 3 p.m. is worse, maybe it's better, but we really don't know unless we try. And I think it's important to remember that the start time starting in July will be 3 p.m. The doors don't lock at 3 p.m. You are still more than welcome to come in at 3 p.m. We encourage everyone to come in at 3 p.m. And that is really what it comes down to me, is that I want more public participation. And there's been things out there that talk about, hey, is this trying to silence the community? Is the goal to prevent meaningful community attendance? And that this policy will result in low turnout. I think individuals that say that may not actually have been at a city council meeting recently at 8:15 at night, because there is a low turnout, and it's unarguable that there's a low turnout at our city council meetings from 6 that start at 6 p.m. tonight. And I saw another one that says we want to silence our constituents. And I would argue that all 5 of us up here do not want to silence any constituents. We want more public participation. We want to hear more from you. That is really my basis for all of this. I want to maximize the community voice and participation. And one of the public speakers, Mrs. Larson, brought up a great point where she said a lot of individuals watch on YouTube. And in that aspect, the meeting time really doesn't matter, right? Because it's recorded. So if you can't watch it at 3, if you can't watch it at 6, you can watch it on YouTube at any time. And the public participation is always there. So I think, for me, I just really want to acknowledge that I want to hear more public speakers. I want more people to come to City Hall. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, is that I feel like there's a lack of people that want to come to City Hall for whatever the reason is, right? Most people do not want to come here, and I'm trying to change that. And that was my whole reasoning with the 3 p.m. With the item being pulled, I would ask my colleagues to show, not just through my words, but through my actions, that I want to have more public participation. I want to look into having public comments on non-agenda items at the beginning of the meeting and a section for public comments for non-agenda items at the end of the meeting. That way, if you get off school or practice or whatever it is you're doing before 3 p.m., you get off at 3 p.m. and you're able to get here at the beginning of the meeting, we want to hear your voice. If you can't come in these doors until 5, we still want to hear your voice. And having 2 sections for public comments on non-agenda items does exactly that. And so I would ask my colleagues today that I would like to change the way our agenda does, and I would like to give 2 sections of public comments on non-agenda items, one at the beginning, one at the end, to maximize the ability for public to come and speak at city council meetings. And that's really all I had to say. Councilmember Ron.
Well, yeah, and I agree with everything you said. I would just say one last thing. I was disappointed to see the council posts on social media insinuating that this council voted on that item in an attempt to disenfranchise the community. I know we disagree ultimately with the outcome of a lot of these decisions, but it doesn't mean that we're pariahs when we have a difference of opinion. And it was reinforced, in some of your comments with other folks, commenting on your post and other. And it was disappointing to see because that's not typically the way we do business here. I think we all stated very clearly why we had our preferences for start times. I looked through it. Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, representing, 10 plus million folks, including Riverside County, all start their meeting at 10 a.m. So, insinuating that and stating clearly that this benefits a few and disenfranchises others, is that the same for every other community that starts their meetings before 6 o'clock? That was never the intent. This has been, I think, the tradition for this entire year is we have a handful of folks engaged with us. And thank you all for being here. But we hope for more. And so this was just an attempt, I think, by all of us at the council to identify a better time that hopefully would better engage the community. And so, I'm more than happy to have the debates, have the discussions, but it was disappointing how this played out on the social media.
Councilmember Schwenk?
Yeah, so I was very clear with my language, and I was very careful too. I said we voted. I didn't call anyone out at all. I didn't even say what the final vote was. And I don't believe I said the words disenfranchise anyone at all. So I don't think that's a valid assessment of the post. I can understand the frustration. I was certainly frustrated when we left, right? Because we typically don't do things like this, right? We shot from the hip on this one, and I disagreed. The intent was to take that sort of engagement and do something with it, right? Social media is here. It's not going away. I'm looking across here, and I see 2 of the most prolific social media dudes on the planet. They are everywhere, right? If I watched every sort of comment that they said, I'd probably go crazy, right? But my post was to make the community aware, and really like, hey, this is what happened at the meeting. I used to do 2-minute updates after every single meeting. I do a 2-minute breakdown, I think is what I called it, like do this like sort of update. And that was the heart of it. I didn't call anyone out. I understand, your perspective on it. But it was really just to say like, hey, this is what we did. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment or whatever. And, people leave comments and send messages and things like that. And look, 3 o'clock might end up being better. Like, maybe it will. And I'll admit it, If we're really looking to increase engagement, well, let's consider broadcasting live on Facebook, right? County does it. Why wouldn't we want to do that? We could do those things if we really want to make it, more accessible. So let's include that in the motion, right? Let's broadcast it onto Facebook. Let's figure ways to engage folks. I think, to the mayor's point, I think there is a lot of happiness in the community, and I think it'll be reinforced in the community survey when we send that out, that folks will say, yeah, I think you're doing a pretty good job, until you're not, right? And then at that point, they'll come up and say, hey, like tonight, so it's really not fair to say, well, there's only a handful of people here, because at 6 o'clock, there was a lot of people here, and they were here for specific reasons. They wanted to have an opportunity to speak to council, right? And so, that's just really what we should be striving for. And I'm certainly not trying to, start a Twitter war or whatever, but your comments are taken.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to broadcasting on Facebook at all. I don't know what that entails, or I think it's definitely something that we can look into. If no other discussion is to be had, I would ask my colleagues here to introduce, here's my motion, to introduce the ordinance and adopt resolution regarding the conduct of the regular city council meetings that we've discussed with the meeting time change, and as well as allow for public comments on non-agenda items at the forefront and at the back end of city council meetings, with also the caveat for staff to look into what broadcasting on Facebook, what that looks like, and if we can make that possible. Mayor Pro Tem, yes.
Awesome. If I can ask staff, one of the things, just listening to my colleagues, you guys have been here a little while. What was it like back in the day, 10, 15 years ago? Is this what it looked like? Or was it different? Peter. Yes, Peter.
Are you asking the old guys over here?
Yes, I am. I'm just curious. As a council member, what does that look like? I mean, we went from 7. I loved the 6. There were definitely reasons for earlier, but, is this new generation, or is this kind of like, hey, when people have a problem, they come and meet us? So what is that? If you can give me your history lesson of it.
I'm trying to figure out how
Put
not
you
to
right
get
on the
into
spot.
trouble, right in the middle. Back in the 90s, there was more people that would show up at the council meetings because they were not on TV. Well, actually, they may have started, but it was a camera in the back, and it was not an easy setup like it is now. And there were a lot of big issues going on. There was development from one end of the city to the other. The roads were not up to capacity. It was constant complaining about the road. So everybody had a lot to say. Everybody had a lot to say when a big development would come in. What roads are they going to build? What are we going to do? There was the great debate over smart development versus no development. So there was a lot going on, and therefore there were more people. And my view after seeing a lot of these council meetings and other council meetings is you're right. Every time there's something that is of interest to the people, you get a significant increase in the number of people that attend. But what I've seen over the last few years with the internet is you may not get the number of people to attend, but your emails may go up. You may get people saying, oh, I saw you on TV and I don't like what you did, I wish you would do that. So that's, I think, I don't mean to dodge the question, but I think that's how you get more people, is when there's something of interest to people, or if somebody has a problem with what's gone on, and then they'll communicate with you in other ways.
That's perfect. And that's exactly kind of what I was after. Again, I wasn't here that long ago, so, back in the day.
The council meetings up until, the early 90s? No, the late 90s were in the CRC.
Yes.
And there were many, many meetings that were absolutely packed.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So, but we're seeing a trend.
But there were also big developments that people didn't like, that they were coming to complain about.
Absolutely.
We're a different city today than we were, obviously, in the 90s. Peter's right. We're in a maintenance mode versus building a city, and all those items, they were large, and people had interest. And the other thing that was mentioned is, I think, super important, is the technology advances over the last 30 years have been huge for civic engagement. And there's so many more things that we're doing to connect with residents that aren't just happening on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. You guys know this well, but 7 days a week, they can find us, they can call us, they can email you guys. They get our newsletters, they get our surveys, they come to our events. We do pop-ups, we do workshops, there's just so much. There's social media platforms that we're populating. That's all new. relatively new in the scheme since the 90s. So we do find ways to meet people where they're at, and I think that's part of being a progressive and innovative, and we need to change with the times. And I think what the council's considering is some of that and see how it works.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for answering that, because that just really just helps us to understand that where we're at is probably a good move to move forward. And first off, I just want to say to my colleagues, like, nobody can say we do not have passion for our residents. Every single one of us are on social media. We're always, I know I'm sometimes, our staff knows 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm working what I got to do on my emails, because that's kind of my time. We all have our own time to meet with our constituents, and we do a great job. We always have meetings here constantly. I'm always seeing people with individuals in their offices with meetings, and just, so the conversations are happening. It just might not be happening here. And Councilmember Ron, I think you said it beautifully the last meeting, is the fact that these are business meetings. And so all of this information, a lot of it really should have been discussed prior, and we should be meeting with our constituents when they're needing help, and that should be done before we even sit down to vote on a topic. And I hope and I know that we're all doing our job doing that. So I thank you guys for doing your job. I'm excited to see how this 3 o'clock will go. And one of the things that didn't get re-mentioned again is the fact that our staff, we have people traveling from all over. I want to be able to make it a little bit easier for them as well sometimes, because they're traveling from Oceanside, and I want to make sure that they're fresh, that they're ready to go, that they can do a great job here and continue to do a great job, because they got to be up at 8 o'clock in the morning to be here again. And so I want to make sure safety is a concern, and as well to be able to make sure that they're being taken care of, because they've got a massive city to run with a great job that they've been doing. So I want to also just put them out there too. So I hope that made sense, and I just want to thank everybody. So thank you.
I love the passion. There is a motion. I will entertain a second.
I'll second it. Did the motion, it did include the social media component? Did I hear that correctly? Okay.
Yes. So for the motion, the social media component was to have staff go ahead and look into it and report back to council. Mr. Mayor, is that what I heard correctly from you?
Yes.
For a point of
And so
clarity.
I have a first by Mayor Kalfas and a second by Councilmember Schwenk.
Quick point of clarification. If we are going to have, so don't want history necessarily to repeat itself, but if we are going to have 2 moments of general public comment at the council meeting, can we include in that if you spoke at the first one, you're not speaking at the second one? Because we've had these meetings get away from us and be dominated by public comment, and we put a lot of rules in place, and so I'd hate to see that sort of circumvent that process in some respects, or maybe even put a limit on time for the second one of 15 minutes, something along those lines. I don't think we necessarily need to decide that here tonight, but I'd like to make sure that we still keep the integrity of the public comments that we have in place.
Yes, yeah, that's an administrative thing we can make happen, no problem.
Agreed. All right, there is a motion and a second. And item number 12 passes unanimously. All right, we will recess the city council meeting to the scheduled meeting of the Temecula Community Services District with President Schwenk.
Thank you very much, Mayor Kalfas. I will now call the Temecula Community Services District meeting to order. Madam Secretary, please note that we are all still here. Do we have any comments on non-agenda items? Okay, we'll dispense with the reading of those rules, and we'll move to our consent calendar. We have item number 26, approve action minutes of May 27, 2025. 27, approve financial statements for the third quarter ended March 31st, 2025. And item 28, approve second amendment with Social Work Action Group for citywide homeless outreach services. I will now entertain a motion and a second.
Move approval.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let us please vote. Okay, and that passes 5-0. Thank you. Do we have a Director of Community Services report?
We do. I just have a couple of quick slides, but before I get to those, I just wanted to go off script for one quick second. And I just wanted to say, Councilmember Stewart, when you said, we do these events with the concerts to create community, and it just really stood out to me because we always say in community services, we create community through people, parks, and programs. And then President Schwenk, when you put up the slide about the 4th of July, with all the discussion about the 4th tonight, I realized that parade kicks off at 10 and the fireworks end at 10, and that's a 12-hour day. But as I think everybody knows, you know, the staff time that goes into doing that event starts many, many, many hours before the sun even comes up and goes well after the fireworks end. So I just felt like I would have been remiss to not give a quick shout out to the staff behind these events. And with that, I just have a couple smaller events I wanted to promote here to our community. The first one, this Saturday, June 14th, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., we have Culture Days featuring the country of Iran down at Sam Hicks Monument Park, right in front of the museum. We do these Culture Days almost every single month. We do about 10 a year. They're really just a wonderful family-friendly opportunity for the kids to get out, the entire family to enjoy culturally relevant snacks, dances, music, crafts, you name it. It's just a ton of fun and very educational. Next slide, please. And then I was really thrilled that we had that public commenter from the NAACP talking about the Juneteenth event. Theirs is going to be on the 20th, which is a Friday. Ours is actually the day before on the 19th, on Juneteenth, so no conflict there, but we'd love for people to come out and enjoy our Juneteenth event, also at Sam Hicks Monument Park from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. on the 19th. And that concludes my report.
Great, thank you very much, Director Russo. General Manager, anything?
Nothing further, Mr. President.
Thanks, sir. Board of Directors, anything? All right, we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
I will call to order the successor agency to the Temecula Redevelopment Agency. Madam City Clerk, please note that we are all still here. Do we have any non-agenda items on the SARTA? All right, we will move on to our consent calendar, number 29, approved financial statements for the third quarter ended March 31st, 2025. I will entertain a motion.
Second.
That has been moved and seconded. Please vote. And that motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to Executive Director report.
Nothing further, Mr. Chair.
Board of Directors reports.
Nothing.
Seeing nothing, I will adjourn SARTA. Temecula Housing Authority has no meeting. Temecula Public Financing Authority has no meeting. I will reconvene the Temecula City Council meeting, and I will move on to our public hearing. Item number 30, adopt resolution reconfirming automatic annual fee adjustment in the Western Riverside County Multiple Species Habitat Conservation Plan Local Development Mitigation Fee applicable to all developments and plan area. Mr. Peters, do we have a staff report?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. This item is the automatic fee adjustment for the MSHCP, or the Multi-Species Habitat Conservation Plan. A little background, the city of Temecula is a member of the Western Riverside Regional Conservation Authority, or the RCA, and the RCA, it includes Riverside County and 18 cities. In 2003, all the member cities adopted the MSHCP and its implementing agreement, and the MSHCP is intended to preserve plants, animals, and habitat for 146 covered species on 500,000 acres. This map, there's a lot going on with this map, but essentially it shows the scale of the MSHCP plan. Down in the southwest corner, you have the city of Temecula. To the north, you have Corona and Riverside, and to the east, you have Hemet, Idlewild, and Anza. So it's a very large-scale plan. The MSHCP includes a local development mitigation fee, and it's assessed on new development for land acquisition, land management, biological monitoring, and administration. The 2020 Nexus study adopted by the RCA establishes the legal justification for the fee. And the Temecula Municipal Code provides for the automatic annual fee adjustment in accordance with the implementing agreement. So this is a pass-through fee. All cities collect the payment at the time of the building permit issuance and then pass through those payments to the RCA. The MSHCP LDMF adjusts annually by the change in the Consumer Price Index. For this upcoming fiscal year, that increase is 2.9363% effective July 1st, 2025. And this slide indicates the fee. For residential, it's a sliding scale based on density. And then it is a fixed rate for commercial and industrial fee per acre. The local development mitigation fee is not subject to CEQA. And with that, staff recommends that the City Council approve a resolution to reconfirm the automatic annual fee adjustment in the Western Riverside County MSHCP local development mitigation fee. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Do my colleagues have any questions? With that, I will open the public hearing. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comments? With that, I will close the public hearing. I will entertain a motion, if no dialogue.
Second.
That has been motioned and seconded. And with that, item number 30 passes unanimously. All right, we have already taken care of our business items for the night. Departmental reports we'll receive and file. Items for future city council agendas. Any of my colleagues have anything? All right. Seeing none, city manager report.
Nothing further tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. City attorney.
Nothing more tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. With that, I would just like to thank all the public speakers that came and had the civil dialogue up here tonight, as well as my colleagues for the professional and civil dialogue. That was a good one. With that, I will adjourn the meeting to our next regular meeting of the City Council, which will be on Monday, June 23rd, 2025 at 10 a.m. with no closed session here in the council chambers. See you then.